Well, hello and welcome to episode 16 of the third series of the Haiku P podcast. I'm Patricia, and today I'd like to read you haiku and senryu on the topic of joy. But before we get there, I've a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, a thank you for all my coffees. Did I already tell you that I now have enough to buy a bit of software which should make the website a little bit more user-friendly? In particular, the Poets Directory. I'm not sure when I'll be able to put it into action, because I have to sweet talk my husband, because he'll be doing it for me. I'll probably have to buy him a few more coffees. A big thank you too to everyone who sent me an email with universally positive feedback for episode 15. The one with Ben Gar and Roger Watson, who came along and did a workshop and a reading for us. I'd like to do some more of these podcasts, and I have a couple lined up. If you can think of someone you particularly like to hear from, let me know by email and I'll try and get hold of them and create a little bit of audio and video for you. Speaking of creating a little bit of audio, Ben Gar is back in the next episode to read you more of his haiku. But in October, I don't have any readings, so who'd like to step up to the plate? Let me know. As I told you last time, the summer edition of the Poetry P Journal of Haiku and Senryu is out. It's in paperback and Kindle. I know some of you can only get the Kindle version in your territory, and have given me positive feedback, so I'll continue creating both versions going forward. A quick reminder that I'm now accepting submissions for the topic of loss. The deadline is the 1st of September. Emails only, please. Try not to use the word loss in your verse. Show me instead a moment of haiku about loss. Now, we've had a very large number of submissions for today's topic. It was a topic that seemed to inspire verse from our regular poets and many new poets for the podcast. A huge thanks to Robert Horrobin, who was editor this time. I'll be reading one verse from all the poets whose work Robert accepted. But don't forget, there'll be bonus haiku and senryu in the autumn journal, as indeed there are in all the Poetry P journals. Now, because there are so many great verses to read today, I've changed the format slightly. I'll still read a few haiku which have been previously published, and then I've split this week's original verses into groups, because it struck me that the verses fit quite naturally into certain categories. I'm not going to tell you what these connections are. It'll be interesting to know what you think. So if you think you've figured it out, do email me. And I'm going to try a method which I've acquired from Ben Gar, so that you know when each category begins and ends. Let me know if it helps. Each time I'll read the poem first, and then let you know who wrote it. We're starting with poems that have been previously published. Rosy Dawn, Our Paddles Stippled with Petals. Debbie Strange, which was highly commended in the 2019 New Zealand Poetry Society International Competition. The next one is from A Moment's Longing, the Haiku Society of America's Members Anthology 2019, edited by Tanya MacDonald. Vegas, Her Winning Smile. Robert Epstein. Now we come to the original haiku and senryu written just for the podcast. We'll kick off today with one of the poets new to us. So sweet, that joy that is almost pain. Carla Lynn Merrifield. Palpitations, the dull ache of first love. Vandana Parashar. I think Vandana has written a verse that perfectly encapsulates first love. I remember mine well. Raindrops seeping into me, a love ballad. Richa Sharma. record scratch. I chortle at his dance moves. Kelly Lage. Next, we have another new poet. Grandpa's shadow sitting across from him. Moonlight Tales. Taoufik Aimi. A love letter signed in italics. Your Fool. Bakhtiar Amini. Sunny Drizzle. Your Zest, My Lemon Cake. Dorothy Burrows. Smiling, in his eyes a rainbow. Daniela Miso. Geisha's silk painted red lips. Sigh. Artificial Joy. Linda L. Ludwig. A cowgirl tossing her smile as if I might get away. R.P. Verlaine. Crying Tears of Joy, The New Mother. Laura Lynn Driscoll. Tears turning to rain, footprints become memories, puddles of joy. Michael Feel. And lastly in this section, another of the poets new to the podcast. Priory ruins glow, vibrations kiss air-hugged skin, emerald body floats. Katie Simpson. The next three poets that we're hearing from are also new to the podcast. Shaking the Raindrops Out of the Tree, Childhood. Diana Salushia. Soap Bubbles, A Boy Chases His Laughter. Veronica Zora Novak. First Rain, Children Jump and Dance Naked. Owolabi Awal Olanrenwaju. Fistful of Sweets, Today I Am a Kid at Heart. Tiffany Shaw Diaz. First Day of School, The Excited Chatter of Starlings. Marilyn Ward. Downpour, A Little Girl's Laughter Runs in Circles. M. Shane Pruitt. Evening Breeze, My Niece Lets Me Pinch Her Cheeks. Neelam Dadwal. Sunday in Paris, Children's Boats Float in the Pond. Elaine Wilbert. Now, Elaine's poem brought me back to a wonderful week I spent in Paris, not long after I left university. Not having much money, I survived on baguettes and tomatoes. I still believe they were the tastiest, most juicy tomatoes I've ever eaten. At long last, no more sleepless nights. School project. Willie R. Boncaron. Touching grass for the first time. Toddler toes. Julie Bloss Kelsey. The next two poets are also new to the podcast. The first poet, Jeff, is a fellow resident of Zurich and a crossover from my career. He's writing about something which also brings me great joy. The sweetest of spots, sound of willow on leather. Jeff Brake. Crossing the line, plumes of coloured smoke rise with the cheers. Michael Kitchen. Now, some of you might remember, in a previous podcast I said how much I enjoy watching the tourists when I'm in the mountains. So I thought I'd write about it. Fake Heidi wears Gucci on her morning hike. Yesterday, impromptu karaoke after dinner. Dr. Tim Gardner. Unknown melody, unheard lyrics, yet the heart soars. Anjali Wahadpande. Beethoven's Ninth. The children try to stop giggling. J. Friedenberg. August Night. Cricket's pleasing symphony. A woman discos. Bhawana Upadhyay. Shostakovich 2. Movement, one climatic phrase, chills up and down spine. Richard Bailey. We have only one new poet in this section of the podcast. Listen out for Kevin Flanagan. Ah, the smell of fresh ground coffee. This morning's enema. Wendy C. Bialik. Out of the darkness, something special is brewing. First tea of the day. Sarah bint Yusuf. One by one, blueberries. Roberta Beach Jacobson. Sweetness of wild fruit, summer on wetted lips, juices of sipped sin. Richard Hargreaves. Two worlds blend, spicy and hot. Kismet. Barbara Carlson. Boiling honey, a scent of warm orange blossoms permeates the house. Kevin Flanagan. Unstoppable, the mint wafer urge. Christina Chin. Christina, is there anything more tasty than a mint wafer? I can't have them in the house because I'd just eat them all. Thank you. Now let's start this section with another poet new to the podcast. Wind Chimes. The joy of reading haiku. Neera Kashyap. Butterfly net. Chasing words for this haiku. Valentina Rinaldi Adams. Windowless room. A book of haiku takes him outside. David Oates. Within pages, the secret life of a bookworm. Rashmi Visa. I wonder, Rashmi, do we all live this secret life? Do you know what? I bet we do. Fireflies. The words on the page begin to shine. Jonathan Roman. Midnight latte. Some roasted peanuts and a sonnet. Zara Mugis. In this section, I'm going to introduce you to 3 poets new to the podcast. Keep an ear out for Maggie Roycraft, Lorraine Padden, and Melissa Patterson. Tilt left, careen to the right, first two-wheeler. Maggie Roycraft. British Racing Green, polished paintwork, shiny chrome, 1964 MGB. Rob McKinnon. My white knuckle ride, he drives over Jackson Heights, joy in his eyes. Elaine Patricia Morris. Banners and Kleenex in every hand, troops returning home. Lorraine Padden. She hums happily as I blow dry her hair. Autumn morning. Melissa Patterson. Happier than the bride, her great-grandmother catches the bouquet. Tracy Davidson. Twilight years. The joy of turning in early. Jason Furtak. Two poets in this section are new to the podcast. Hello to Riham El Ashri and Garrett Schulke. Closed lids, fluttering sun and shadow leaves. Craig Kittner. Spring, old walk, brand new leaves. Jane Berg. Sunbeams behind leaves, sparkling on my teeth. Riham El Ashri. Trees with love carvings heal themselves. Garrett Schulke. Halfway up the tree, I consider my next move. Giddy Nielsen Sweep. Heavenly sky, I climb the ladder of an old pine. Kristin Lindquist. Kristin, giddy. I expect many of us have been in this position. I wonder just how many, though. Perhaps I should do a poll. Flowering apple tree, the joy of pollination, honeybees. Ava Drobner. Listen out for Leka Desai Morrison, Veronica Isert, and Mike Railing, who were the three poets new to the podcast in this section. The sun shines, the flower captures smiles everywhere. Leka Desai Morrison. Picnic basket, picking some wildflowers to see her smile. Cyril Soliman. Flowers for August, in the full sun that makes sure they become pure bliss. Veronica Isert. Catching a dandelion seed, the thrill of possibilities. Mike Railing. In the fields, buttercups brush my legs with stardust. Jenny Wynne Hyatt. Poppy field red alert, stretching beyond seeing, lost in its oneness. Ian Speed. Pink peony opens to the sun, a geisha's lips. Kim Russell. Gosh, there are 5 poets in this section who've never written for us before. Beth Cusack, Anya, Angela Terry, B.A. France, and Carrie Ann Tunnell. Dragonfly lifts me. Its wings in sunlight reveal a web of bright truth. Beth Cusack. Sun erupts into day. Dragonfly wings ignite the air. Robert Kazeda. Window pane. I touch my fingers to a butterfly. Anya. Morning shadows, and then suddenly a butterfly. Angela Terry. No butterfly, but a spent yellow leaf just as beautiful. Mike Gallagher. I didn't notice the butterfly that landed on me. Narayanan Subramanian. Bumblebee napping. Simple happiness in an open bloom. B.A. France. A ladybug on the bok choy, dancing wind chimes. Carrie Ann Turnell. Gravity has no hold on the skylark's spiralling song. Hannah Hulbert. This time we'll start the section by welcoming a poet new to the podcast. Home at last, a baby turtle dives into the ocean. Rajeswari Srinivasan. Still pond, the coot chicks near grown. Pearl. Dog tongue hanging, wind-blown ears flapping out a car window. Linda L. Kruschke. Unlocking sound. Behind the door, a wagging tail. Tomislav Siklochya. Sun trap. The cat's tail tickles my toes. Debbie Strange. Now why is it, do you think, that dogs appear to give more joy than cats? Do we have more dog people here? Who knows? Fiona, who's our only poet new to the podcast in this section, turns the light on for us. On this full moon night, a scattering of stars brings the shadows to light. Fiona H. Seeing the comet, I throw my hat in the air. It lands first. James Young. Midnight Bay. Beyond the shingle, our stepping stone stars. John Hawkhead. Power cut. The joy of shadow birds in the candlelight. Srinivas S. And quite neatly, Srinivas turns the lights off. Of the three poets in this section, only one is a regular, Wayne Kingston, who incidentally has a new book out. And so we say a big hello to Trey Treacle and R.J. Tungsten. Sliver of blue sky after yesterday's grey day, a magic carpet. Trey Treacle. Shadows from the clouds provide relief from the sun. Breathe in the beauty. R.J. Tungsten. Plump cloud vapour drifts, bright cerulean canvas, summer quilting. Wayne Kingston. And now we'll finish with 6 poets who are regulars to the podcast. Filling emptiness, waves dance over each other. The sky meets the sea. Professor R.K. Singh, who also has a new book. Tiny spring flows freely along the trails. Calm trickle. Selina Rose. Liberated by summer heat, a rivulet's joy. Paul Callis. At one with nature, seasonal observations from my balcony. Andrew Sire. Wild barley, blonde hair blowing in a prairie wind. Art Friedeen. Vista Point, those few moments alone with the horizon. Deborah P. Kolodji. My sincere thanks to everybody who took part in today's podcast. It's been a real honour to read your work. Don't forget, if the inspiration hits you, email me your submissions for Loss, deadline the 1st of September. Thank you once again to Robert Horrobin for editing today's podcast. I know you're missing all the wonderful haiku dropping into your inbox, Robert, but we'll do it again, don't worry. Don't forget that you can go to the Poetry Pea website, click on the podcast and read the show notes, so you can mull these wonderful works over and over again, as many times as you like. You should also be able to find today's poets in the Poets directory on the website. If someone's missing, just let me know and I'll put it right. And thank you so much to everyone for coming along and listening to the episode. I look forward to welcoming you in a couple of weeks. I think I have more treats for you then. But until then, don't forget, keep writing. If there's something missing from the show notes, just whiz me over an email and I'll sort it out for you. Ciao!